And good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here, taking a look at the tropical update for August 25th of 2020, brought to you by the folks over there at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling. Looking out into the tropics, there's really only one game in town anymore, and that's Laura, moving through the Gulf of Mexico, currently as a Category 1 hurricane. The rest of the Atlantic, nice and quiet, thank goodness. Pegged to be a Category 2 by 1 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. By 1 in the afternoon, still a Category 2, and eventually a Category 3 by landfall. Current wind at 80 miles an hour, gusting to 100, moving to the west-northwest at 17 miles an hour. So it's still moving at a pretty decent clip, and it's 480 miles off to the southeast of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Getting in here a little bit tighter, hurricane advisories up. We've got warnings in effect for a lot of the counties of Texas and the parishes of Louisiana between Houston and just off to the east of, or just off to the east of Lake Charles. Sorry about that. As far north, look at this, as far north as Alexandria, as you make your way up 49, and Lufkin over there in Texas, and then watches are along the fringe of that for your hurricane advisories. For tropical storm advisories, those stretch even further. Go all the way to the other side of Houston, as far north as Shreveport, and as far off to the east as the mouth of the Mississippi River. Pretty incredible. This does include Baton Rouge. It does not include, though, New Orleans at this point. Storm surge advisories. We've got warnings up from Houston all the way to the mouth of the Mississippi River. Even some storm surge watches up for parts of the Mississippi coastline. How about that? Anticipating 3 to 5 feet, perhaps, of storm surge that far away from where landfall is going to be, which is going to be somewhere around the Sabine Wildlife Refuge. Getting in here a little bit tighter, what does that mean? How much water are we talking about above ground level? How about somewhere between 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and up to 9 feet above ground level surge, and maybe even higher than that. As you can see here, it does cut off the shading there once you get above 9 feet. So anticipating 9 feet of surge as far north in some places as Interstate 10. So this is kind of a big deal for folks across extreme southeastern Texas, from Houston over toward Beaumont, out toward Lake Charles, Louisiana, Lafayette, and even down toward Franklinton. So a lot of folks in on this. Cameron down there right on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of folks need to take heed to this. I know they've already started evacuations in Galveston. I know they've got voluntary evacuations in a lot of places as well. So if you are in the path of this storm, I would highly encourage you, at the very least, to consider evacuating if a mandatory evacuation is not in effect for your area, and you are going to be dealing with the direct effects of Hurricane Laura. Post-tropical Marco, the last update from this was at 4 a.m., wind at 30, gusting to 40. That has since fallen apart. Looking at the water vapor, we can grab a couple of details from this. Of course, we've got Laura in here going through intensification and gliding off to kind of the north and northwest. Back in behind it, we've got an upper level low, which is doing a good number between this ridge up here and this low down there, at building kind of a back wall to Laura right now. And it's getting kind of squeezed in here because we've got some shearing from this area of low pressure up here. And all of this is marching. We've talked about this over the last couple of days. All of this stuff is marching off to the west. But Laura right now, while it is strengthening, it is getting squeezed a little bit, and you can kind of see that on the water vapor. You don't have a lot of good, exhausting, so to speak, or fanning happening on the back side of this, because you've got it's getting kind of nudged from the back, from the east side. And on the flip side, you don't have a whole lot of exhausting very well on this side either, because it's getting roped up in what's left of the shear, which is from that area of low pressure that's over here. So it's getting kind of squished a little bit, and that's sort of good news, but that's not going to stop this thing from making a run at being a major hurricane over the next couple of days. Percent chance that you see tropical storm force wind, I mean, it's nearly a guarantee for folks in Beaumont, Lake Charles, and Cameron. Even for you folks in Lafayette, as far north as Alexandria, Lufkin, and Shreveport as well, looking at a pretty good shot. Right now, Galveston and Houston, with only a 50 to 60, maybe 70% chance. I would argue that's probably going to increase as we head through the next couple of days. Now, for South Mississippi, a 10-20% chance. And most of the wind that we'll receive here in South Mississippi is actually going to be when it kind of clears out and we're able to mix down some of the wind from aloft. We won't have to worry necessarily about the surface wind going all that too fast around here. You may catch a couple of wind gusts up to 40 or maybe even 50 miles an hour in some of the showers and storms that roll through, but that's only indirectly associated with Laura. You can see it down here on Futurecast making a run and landfall across parts of extreme southeastern Texas and Louisiana as we head through the day on Thursday. What else is back in behind it? Well, there's landfall from Laura on our 700 millibar moisture 850 vorticity map. Back in behind it, it looks like we'll have another wave come off the coast of Africa over the next couple of days, and this may try and stay developed as we head through the next week and get toward the Bahamas and the Greater and Lesser Antilles as we head through Wednesday of next week. Beyond that point, there is some reasonable amount of disagreement. Once it gets kind of into this ballpark, does it turn north? Does it continue into the Gulf? Or does it actually make kind of a beeline to the west and end up getting eaten up by the Yucatan and into parts of Mexico? So from kind of Tuesday into Wednesday of next week, there is some disagreement, I think a fair amount of it, between the modeling. Back in behind that one, there's yet another wave that comes off the coast. Of course, it is getting toward the peak of hurricane season. So there's a look at your tropical update for August 25th of 2020, brought to you by the folks over there at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling.